There's a number sitting in the WNBA record books right now that nobody in the history of this league has ever reached. Not Diana Taurasi, not Sue Bird, not Aya Wilson. Nobody. And the player who owns it has been a professional for less than 2 years. But here's a part that will genuinely stop you. The record itself is almost not the story. What Caitlin Clark did on May 17th, 2026 goes so far beyond the stat line that if you walked away from this video thinking it was about basketball, you missed the whole thing. Let's go back to draft night, April 2024. The Gamebridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis is electric in a way WNBA draft nights almost never are. There are camera crews that don't normally show up. There are ticket prices that don't normally exist. And there is one name on every single person's lips: Caitlin Clark, Iowa, the most watched college basketball player, men's or women's, in NCAA history. She walks across that stage, and the Indiana Fever are suddenly the most talked about franchise in the league. Overnight. But what came next is the part the highlight packages always skip. Her rookie season was spectacular and brutal in equal measure. 19.2 points per game. Rookie of the Year. Sellout crowds following the Fever on the road like it was a rock concert tour. And also, 5.6 turnovers per game, every single night. A league-leading number her critics sharpened into a weapon and used against her constantly. Social media did what social media does. The takes were loud. The debate was everywhere. Was she a genuine franchise player or a volume scorer living off NCAA hype? Was the Fever better with her running the show or despite it? Here's what I want you to think about right now. When was the last time you watched someone get torn apart publicly and then come back and completely rewrite the conversation? Because that is exactly what happened, except the rewrite wasn't loud. It wasn't a logo 3 at the buzzer. It wasn't a viral moment with a caption underneath it. It was quieter than that. And that is what made it so much more powerful. Then came the groin injury. 10 months. 10 months away from the kind of double-digit assist performances that define elite point guards. 10 months of rehabilitation, of watching film, of being off the floor while the league kept moving without her. Aya Wilson was cementing herself as the face of the Las Vegas Aces and the undisputed best player in the world. Breanna Stewart and the New York Liberty were building something dangerous. The expansion teams were shaking up the entire league structure. Angel Reese was developing into something genuinely terrifying in Chicago. The WNBA did not pause for Caitlin Clark. And when she came back, and this is a detail that matters more than any statistic, she did not come back trying to prove she could still score. She came back looking like something else entirely. Indiana Fever versus the Seattle Storm. May 17th, 2026. Final score, 89-78. Clean, controlled, almost surgical. The kind of win that doesn't trend on Twitter because there's no chaos to screenshot, no confrontation, no meltdown, just basketball played at the highest level with a point guard completely in command of everything happening around her. 21 points, 10 assists, a double-double. But the how is where the story actually lives. She scored those 21 points on just 10 field goal attempts. That is 2.1 points per shot. In a league where anything above 1.2 is considered elite, she went to the free throw line 9 times. Made all 9. No drama. No misses. Just execution. Repeated calmly, under pressure. And then the assists. 10 of them. Her 21st career double-double. In 57 games. Players who played hundreds of games for this franchise never reached that number. Caitlin Clark walked past them before finishing her second healthy season. Here's a moment the broadcast almost didn't properly explain. The 12th time in her career she scored at least 20 points and recorded at least 10 assists in the same game. The all-time WNBA record for any player, in any era, in the entire history of this league. It belongs to her now, and she is still extending it. But if you think that record is a history she made, you are still only reading the surface of this story. The record is real. The numbers are real. But none of that is why Caitlin Clark made history on May 17th, 2026. The history she made, the kind that outlasts box scores and career statistics, happened in the space between the plays, in the culture, in the conversation. in what this moment means for every little girl who has ever been told that women's basketball is a lesser version of the real thing. That is the history, and it is bigger than any record book can hold. Let's talk about what Caitlin Clark has done to the WNBA as an institution, because this is not a story about one player getting better. This is a story about an entire league being transformed in real time, and the players, the coaches, the executives, and the fans who are watching it happen and still not fully grasping what it means. When Clark entered the league in 2024, average WNBA viewership for a regular season game sat at numbers the league had fought for years to grow. Respectable, committed, a loyal fan base that deserved more than it was getting. Then something happened that sports economists are still writing papers about. Indiana Fever games became events. Road games in cities that had never sold out a WNBA arena were selling out. Teams across the league reported record single-game ticket sales, not just when the Fever came to town, but in the weeks surrounding it, because casual fans were suddenly paying attention to the entire league. Think about this honestly. Before Caitlin Clark, could you name 5 WNBA players without hesitating? And now, that question is not a criticism. It is a measurement of something real that happened to the sport. Here is the part of this story that makes people uncomfortable. So let's go straight at it. Aya Wilson, the most dominant player in the WNBA, 2-time MVP, 3-time champion with the Las Vegas Aces, a player who by any objective measurement is the greatest of her generation and arguably one of the greatest ever to play this game. In 2023, her jersey was not in the top 5 in WNBA sales. By 2025, she was a global superstar with a Nike signature shoe and brand partnerships that would have been unimaginable 3 years earlier. Did Caitlin Clark cause that? Not alone, but the wave Clark created lifted every boat in the harbor. Television deals improved. Salary cap conversations that had been stuck for years suddenly started moving. Expansion franchises in cities like Portland and Toronto entered the picture with valuations that rewrote what the WNBA was worth as a business. Breanna Stewart got a bigger stage. Sabrina Ionescu got a bigger stage. Angel Reese, who arrived from LSU carrying her own massive fan base and her own complicated media narrative, got a bigger stage. The league got a bigger stage. And it all runs through one player from Coralville, Iowa, who walked into this league and refused, sometimes painfully, sometimes chaotically, to be small. But let's not rewrite the past into something clean that it wasn't. There were real growing pains, real turnovers, real moments where the criticism was not unfair. And here is what makes May 17th, 2026 so significant beyond the record. A lesser player, a player who hadn't truly internalized the lessons of 2 years of professional basketball, comes back from a 10-month injury layoff and tries to prove something. Forces shots, chases highlights, plays scared or plays selfish, and either way, plays wrong. Caitlin Clark came back and played patient. That is not a small thing. Patience is the hardest skill in basketball to develop. It cannot be drilled. It cannot be coached into a player who doesn't fundamentally understand it yet. It has to be earned through failure, through criticism, through sitting with the discomfort of knowing you're not yet what you're capable of becoming. She sat with all of it, and on May 17th, she showed everyone exactly what came out the other side. Here is what Caitlin Clark actually did that night that had nothing to do with points or assists. She proved, in the most public, documented, statistically undeniable way possible, that the WNBA is a league where greatness is built, not just displayed. That the women who play this game go through the same crucible that every great athlete goes through. That the journey from raw talent to refined mastery is just as hard, just as painful, just as real as anything happening in any other professional sports league in America. For decades, the WNBA fought for that recognition, fought for the media coverage, fought for the salaries, fought for the simple basic acknowledgement that what happens on those courts is worth your time and your attention. Here's the real question this video has been building toward. What does it mean for a sport when its biggest star stops being a story about potential and becomes a story about legacy? Because that is the shift that happened on May 17th. Caitlin Clark stopped being a promise. She became a proof. The Indiana Fever won 89-78. A clean, forgettable scoreline. No buzzer beaters. No ejections, no viral moment to screenshot. Just a basketball game where the best player on the floor was also the most controlled, the most patient, the most evolved version of herself she has ever been. The record books updated quietly. 12 career 20 and 10 games. All-time WNBA leader. Still counting. But somewhere in Indiana, in a gym that probably smells like rubber and wood polish, a 12-year-old girl watched that game. Maybe on her phone. Maybe with her dad. Maybe alone because she just loves basketball and nobody in her life quite gets why. And she saw a woman who took every piece of criticism, every doubter, every brutal headline, and turned it into something the record books don't have a column for. She turned it into belief. That is the history Caitlin Clark made beyond basketball. And she is just getting started.